So the film starts and we see an old woman who lives with her sick husband. Her husband was in a very bad condition and she had to take care of him alone. One day when the old woman was working in her room, she suddenly heard a noise from her room, so she came to her husband and started looking at him. Suddenly she heard the sound of a wolf howling from outside, which scared her so much. Now we see that all her wolves also get scared of something and start running here and there making noise, and that was a drowning evil spirit which had entered her farm. Now when the old woman was working in the kitchen, the chair behind her suddenly moved and moved back so that she understood that the spirit is around her. The next day the old woman's son and daughter, whose name was Louis, came home to see their parents. The way the brother and sister were talking to their mother, it was clear to see that the two children were not getting along with their mother and there was no understanding between them. The old woman tells her two children to leave the house but does not tell them that there is a bad spirit in their house which has been living here for many years. At night, the two brothers and sisters were sitting outside the house and talking. They believed that they would get tired. They also realized that we have been so busy in our lives that we have never been able to pay attention to our parents. We had forgotten that they need our love and attention. At night, when Louis closes the door and comes in, the door opens on its own. She felt strange that how did it open? There was that evil spirit standing there which only her mother could see while eating. Her mother tells her brother, whose name was Michael, that there is nothing good in this house. There is a lot of bad things here. That's why you two should leave this house. But he ignores his mother's words and comes to his room after eating. When his mother was working in the kitchen, the chair moves to the side again, which makes his mother cry again. She was tired too, so with the knife in her hand the next morning, when Louis and Michael go to the farm, they are shocked to see that their mother has taken her life. Both are very sad. They remove their mother's body from there, which the police comes to take. Both the brothers and sisters go into deep shock. They go to their father's feet and sit quietly. Meanwhile, we see their neighbor, who was also very sad about the painful death of his mother. Rainers comes to their house, who took care of their father. She tells them that her mother used to blabber alone. It felt like I was talking to someone. After hearing this, Louis thinks that I don't know how difficult the time would have been for our parents. He regrets that we left him alone at that time. Now because of this regret, she takes the responsibility of taking care of her father. She then goes to the room of her mother where she used to. So Louis sees that she was making a gown for her wedding. She was even more sad when Louis was bathing. She hears the sound of someone's footsteps in the bathroom. She calls out and asks Michael, "Are you here?" But there is no answer from the front. So now when Louis removes the curtain and looks, she finds her dad standing there, who was in a very strange condition. Louis was very scared. He started shivering and shaking his head. Seeing this, Louis gets scared. She closes her eyes while screaming. When Michael comes to check, he doesn't see anyone in the bathroom. When he went to check in his dad's room, he was sleeping on the bed in the same condition as he was sleeping before. It was difficult to deny what Louis saw with his own eyes, but still she ignores him. She ignores him and calms. Now Michael was about to go out to get the necessary things before leaving. He goes to see his dad. Michael finds his mom's diary under his bed. He tells Louis about it and both of them start reading the diary, in which his mom wrote about the drowning soul, and she said that she is slowly ending my husband and I need help. Hearing this, Louis starts crying. Now the things that were written in the diary, both of them start mixing it with the incidents that happened in the house, and both of them were not able to understand why did his mom suddenly end. To find the reason for this, they start reading the diary again, where his mom wrote that I can hear the voice of that soul and I can feel its presence. Now they go to the doctor who was checking his mom's corpse. He gives them a cross and says, "I found this in your mom's pocket." Hearing this, both of them felt very strange because their mom was never so religious. After this, both of them come home, but their anxiety was increasing when Louis was taking care of his dad. At night his dad starts coughing. A spider comes out of his dad's mouth. Louis tries to catch it, but Michael comes here. He asks if everything is fine. Louis says yes, everything is fine. When Michael comes to his room to sleep, someone turns on the light to check who was doing this. His mom is flying in the air and she is smiling at Michael. Then the light of Michael's room turns off and his mom's voice starts coming from that room. When he looked outside, his mom was not there. He realized that his mom was there in the same condition as if she was hanging, and when Michael turned on the light there was no one there. Someone made a mark on his face. She starts cleaning her mouth. When she came to check her dad, she found lipstick. She was very disturbed. Meanwhile, Someone called as home. When Louis picked up the phone, she heard a recording. When she picked up the phone, she heard her mom's voice. When Michael came back, he saw his dad outside the house. He already knew about Louis and Michael. He tells them that his mom used to come to meet him. That's why I know you. He gives them his number and tells them to contact him if they need help. He thinks that his mom might have. That's why Michael asks him to leave. After he leaves, Michael calls his wife and kids and tells them that he misses them and wants to come to them. When Louis reads his mom's diary, he hears the sound of glass breaking. Louis thinks that Michael might have broken something, but he can notice the evil shadow. Louis thinks that his mom is right. He tells Michael he thinks that he is right. He tells Louis about the night when he saw his mom flying. When they came inside, they realized someone was outside. They saw their father outside. He saw his eyes. They realized that it was Michael. He can take anyone's form. His neighbor calls to help Louis and Michael. But the neighbor is attacked because he wanted to help them. The soul comes to the neighbor's house in the form of Louis, and in front of him, he starts putting cuts on his body and face with a knife. As soon as the neighbor saw him, he also understood that this is not the real Louis. Now the soul comes to the neighbor and starts saying something in his ear. The next moment the neighbor shoots and ends. In this way, this soul forces any person to take his life by hypnotizing him, just as he did with his mother before and now with the neighbor too. The next morning, the two brothers and sisters come out of the house to see the marks of their father's feet so that they can find out if he came last night or what we are thinking about the soul is true. So these people don't get anything there. Now, due to these circumstances at home, both decide to send their dad to the hospital. Louis calls his father to find out about his mother. Then the father asks, "Where did you get my number from?" Louis says, "You gave it yourself by coming to our house and said that you know our mother and she used to come to meet you." Hearing this, the father was surprised. He says, "I have never met your mother and I live in another country. I don't know any of you." Also, the father tells him that I also had a daughter named Louis who had to take her life. Coincidentally, her voice sounds a lot like you. Hearing this, she got very nervous and quickly hangs up the phone because hearing the whole thing, her head was spinning. Anyway, now the two of them consult a doctor to send their father to the hospital. Seeing the condition of the father, the doctor says that he is very weak. Who knows, he may not be able to bear the tiredness of the journey. If his life can also go, it will be better to keep him inside the house. Now his father's nurse says that your father needs your love and I hope that he will be fine like this. Because I saw your mother suffering without both of you. Now when Louis and Michael come to the farm, why did they lose consciousness? There were a lot of dead animals lying there, which were torn apart and eaten. See, both understood that this can't be done by any wolf. They were suspicious of the soul. And now she would light a big fire, throw all the animals in it and burn them. Now because of these circumstances, Michael became very emotional. The animal who was pregnant, when he comes to talk to him, he says that I will not let anything happen to you. And because he was emotional about his father and sister, he thinks of staying with them. He also tells Louis that I am now afraid of these things. After a while, Michael hears someone's voice from the farm. When he went to check, the evil spirit comes there in the form of his mother. She started saying something in Michael's ear, because of which he was also going to end with a knife like his neighbor and his mother. But then he stops with his strength. When Louis was sleeping with his father at night, he has a bad dream, in which she feels the evil spirit around her, which suddenly scares her. And now when she went and checked, her father was not there. In fact, he was stuck to the roof, which made him very nervous. And now his eyes open while screaming. This was also his bad dream. When it was morning, Michael could not see him anywhere. He started looking for him everywhere. In fact, he had run away from his father and sister to save his life. And now Louis feels very bad to know about this. Then the neighbor's granddaughter comes to meet Louis. She tells Louis about her death and says that your father is listening. Hearing this, Louis understands that she is not the real neighbor's granddaughter. In fact, this time too, the spirit has changed and come to her. And she started bothering Louis. Ignoring her, Louis calls Michael. In the meantime, the father's nurse also came here. The two sisters were arguing that the nurse started putting a sharp object in her cheek. Look, Louie got scared. She goes to stop her, but the nurse made her unconscious. And now she puts a weapon in her nose and body in different parts and mercilessly takes her life. There, when Michael came to his wife and children, he saw that he was completely broken, that all the people in his family had died. So now Michael, being sad, cuts his throat and takes his life. But while dying, he saw that his family is alive. And all this is the conspiracy of that spirit, so that Michael's life is also lost. When Louis was with his father started coughing hard. In the meantime, he hears Michael's voice from the house. At the same time, his father is also getting sick. Louis got very nervous. She tries to save her father, but he breaks his breath by coughing hard. Being sad, when Louis was crying, she hears her mother's voice from the house. When she turns around to see her, that spirit comes out of her father and ends Louis too. That is, the whole family has fallen into the abyss of death. Now the reason behind this was that his mother had promised to hand over all their souls to Satan to complete her work. So the soul stayed inside his father and settled in his house. And then he ended this whole family. Whoever was in contact with him, he ended them too. And with this, the story of this film also ends here.